Hello and welcome to this video tutorial. Today we're looking at importing images into Illustrator, what size they come in to Illustrator and how you can control that. I'm going to click to create a brand new file. I'm creating a document the size of my computer screen, 1920 by 1080. I'm going to import an image by choosing File and then Place. And I have an image here that I want to import, so I'm just going to click Place. Now if I click and drag, I can make it whatever size I want it to be within that document. Let me just delete that and let's do it a different way. Because if I choose File and then Place, go back to that exact same image, click Place, and then just click once in the document, it's going to be embedded inside this document at the size that it was on the disk. Let's try that with another copy of this same image. File, Place. Let's go and get this version of it. I'll click once in the corner of the document to import this image, and this version of the image is so much larger. So if we were to look at this image on disk, you might determine that this version of the image was much larger in terms of physical dimensions. Interestingly, that's not the case. They are exactly the same width and height in terms of pixels. So let's have a look and see if we can work out why these two images are coming into this document at vastly different sizes. So here is this image. If I right click on it and choose to see the properties for the image, in the details area you can see that the dimensions are 2592 by 3872. Let's have a look at the second version of the document. And if we have a look at the details, then the dimensions are exactly the same. So one of these images is coming in really small and one of these is coming in really large. Well, what I did was I saved these two images at different resolutions. This one here, the resolution is 72 dpi. This one here, the resolution is 300 dpi. Let's go back and see if we can work out what's happening here. File and then Place. I'm going to get the 72 dpi version. This is the really big one. And the 300 dpi version is the one that comes in considerably smaller. And you'll notice up here when I have this particular image selected that Illustrator is telling us that the resolution is 300 ppi. When I select this back one, the one that is much, much larger inside Illustrator, then the resolution is 72 dpi. So it has to do with the resolution of an image. Let's go back and let's place another few sets of images. This is a flower image and I'm going to open up two DPI versions of it. Now these two images, these two flower images are exactly the size of this document here. The 72 dpi version comes in at the exact size of the document. The 300 dpi version is going to come in much, much smaller. Here it is. So the size that an image comes into Illustrator if you use the Place option and simply click is determined by not only the dimensions of the document in terms of pixels, how wide it was and how tall it was, but also its resolution. So two images that are exactly the same physical size. The dimensions of these two images in terms of width and height in pixels are identical, but they're coming into Illustrator being read as totally different size images. And so it's really important to know that. Now, people will tell you that because Illustrator is a vector application, it's resolution agnostic. It doesn't care. That's not right. That is so totally wrong. In fact, Illustrator assumes that any document that you create has a notional pixel resolution of 72 ppi. That's why this document here at the back, that is the exact same size as the artboard at 72 dpi, is coming in at the size of the artboard. This one is much, much smaller. If we were to open this in Photoshop, for example, we could see how big that document was. So I actually have this image open in Photoshop. So let me just bring Photoshop across here for a minute. This is the 300 dpi version. When I go to image size and read its dimensions off, you'll see that it's only 6 by 3 inches in size. It's very, very small. If I go and open the 72 dpi version, then that's very different. When we look at image size for this image, it is 26 inches by 15 inches. It's much, much larger. It's got more pixels. It's the exact same pixel dimensions. But if we were to print this out on a printer that just read off the DPI and printed based on that, then this would be a very large image and this would be really small, although they are the identical number of pixels, the identical quality of pixels. This is really confusing stuff. It makes sense, but you need to have your wits about you when you're thinking about what's happening here. So when you bring an image into Illustrator, not only are the pixel dimensions going to be read off, but also the DPI of that image, and according to that, the image will be bigger or smaller because of the resolution of the image, even if two images are the exact same pixel size as these two are. And of course, if you want to bring an image in at its default size into Illustrator, you're just going to choose File, Place, and then you're going to click once and the image will come in at its size on the disk. But of course, that's not just pixel measurements, it's also its dimensions in terms of its resolution are being used to determine how big it's going to be inside Illustrator. Now, if you're asking yourself how you could determine how big an image is going to be on import, let's go and grab a calculator and let's look at this in terms of the image that I opened previously, the one that was 1920 by 1080 pixels. So let's have a look at the 1920 dimensions. I'm going to type in 1920. And when we're looking at the one that was 300 dpi, let's divide by that 300 dpi. Well, that gives us 6.4, and since we know that Illustrator is working at a notional value of 72, then let's multiply by 72 pixels per inch. So what is happening is when we import this image that is 1920 pixels wide, it's going to come into Illustrator as if it was only 480 pixels wide. Let's prove that. File and then Place. Let's go and get the one that was going to be much, much smaller, this 300 dpi one. Click once in the document. When I go to the transform options and read those off, you'll see that they're going to read for the width exactly the calculation that I made here, 460.8. That's what its size is notionally inside Illustrator, because we take the width of it in pixels, we divide by the resolution, which in this case was 300 dpi, and then we multiply that by 72. When we're looking at the one that was ended up being the exact size of the artboard, we would say 1920 divided by 72, and then just multiply by 72 because that's Illustrator's notional value. And so, of course, we're getting 1920 for the answer there. So that's why we don't get any difference in size when we bring in the one that was 1920 pixels wide but at 72 dpi, because it's coming in at exactly the same pixel dimensions. But this one is being clobbered. Still the same size document, but it doesn't look like it when it gets inside Illustrator. So I hope I haven't confused you too much. I hope that I've actually explained a little bit about how Illustrator works. I do have another video that explains more about this image size issue in Illustrator in terms of when you're saving images out of Illustrator, and that's linked here. There's also a link to it in the description for this video. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments section so that I can look at them and try and help you out with this. If you like carefully researched content like this, clearly presented in a step-by-step format so that you can get great results, then you'll love my Skillshare content. I'm a Skillshare top teacher. I have hundreds of short courses on Skillshare that you can access, along with thousands of other great courses, all for the price of a single subscription. If you're interested, there's a Skillshare coupon for you in the description below to use to sign up. Using this coupon benefits me as a creator, and it helps me continue to make free content available here for you also on YouTube. Thank you for joining me for this video tutorial. On the screen now, you'll see a video that I've handpicked for you. If you enjoyed the video you've just watched, I know that you're going to really enjoy the one I've picked for you to watch next.